KC Sealock, like I said, he is with Sky Elements Drone Shows. He is in Atlanta right now. Casey, everybody, Casey. And
what's up, everybody?
It's not Casey like Casey struck, the mighty Casey struck out, or the baseball player. It's KC like Kansas City, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is there a different way to pronounce that?
Everybody asks me that. Is it KC or Casey or KC? And I'm like, it all sounds the same. I've been called much worse. So, Hey You works, Drone Guy works, and any way of finding me on social media, Instagram, YouTube, all that is Eat, Sleep, Drone, Repeat.
Eat, Sleep, Drone, Repeat. All right. Follow him now. So and I have to ask too, because Chris Hope is rocking one of the best beards in the room right now. Of course, everybody knows Jace Digit has a pretty awesome beard. I think yours might have both of them beat. How long did that take?
Well, thank you. I honestly couldn't tell you the last time I was clean shaven.
Okay. But was it not gray when it started?
It was not gray when it started, and the streaks are natural. Everyone's like, how'd you get it to do that? I'm like, man, I earned every single one of them. So
Yeah. That's a drone falling out of the sky, or a client yelling at you or something. So
oh yeah. I'd say an M210 backflipping from about 1,200 feet into a crater will put a lot of them in there.
So let's assume that, this audience knows a lot about drones in general, but has anybody been like backstage, so to speak, at a drone show? Okay, couple people have been behind the scenes, but most of the room has not. What is the kind of thing that goes on? Like, how does this work? You show up the day before, you show up 2 days before. How do you guys plan everything?
So there's a lot that goes into that. Technically, you do want to have a site survey at some time prior to the show. You make sure that you've got enough space, that you'll be able to do it safely. So lock down your flight area above, because obviously we can't fly over people, and there's a lot of different protocols we have to deal with. A lot of planning goes into the actual whether or not we need airspace authorizations, because our waiver gives us a lot of leeway within class golf airspace. But when we start getting into places that people actually want drone shows, major cities, around events, things like that, we have to look at a lot of the airspace, TFRs, and all that sort of thing. So as much as we have advertising and marketing people and logistics people to get it there, we need a lot of aviation heads to sit there and go through all that as well, to make sure that we checked all the boxes all the way down. Actual setup, believe it or not, day of, couple hours. We normally show up about 5 hours before a show to actually put things in place. Normally doesn't take quite that long, but obviously you'd rather have the time and not need it than need the time and not have it.
Yeah. Well, so do you have someone dedicated on your team who takes care of TFRs and getting waivers? And I mean, is that, you do all that? Okay. So
I am the guy. Of the whole company, I do tend to run through our sales staff with me a lot. I've been flying drones for about 14 years at this point. Light shows off and on for the last 3 years, and full time for the last 2. But started out with RC cars, living in Hong Kong when I was much younger, got into RC planes shortly after I came back to the US, got into all sorts of other stuff, paintball and motorcycles and kite surfing and all that. But my father was a helicopter pilot in the Army. So rotorcraft have always had a special place in my heart. And about the time the first drones started popping up online, Dad and I think both emailed each other at the same time going, have you seen these things? Check this out. Grabbed a couple toys and played with them for a little bit and went, okay, there's way more into this.
Got the bug, right? You got bit. So
absolutely. And I was one of the lucky people that was able to take a hobby that turned into an immediate passion and develop that into a career. With Amazon Prime Air for a while, I worked with BNSF Railroad on their drone team, and several other large programs across the country over the last many years. And now this is more of an entertainment show and job that uses the drone technology as opposed to a true drone job.
Right. So it's like you have to come up with compelling visuals. You have to come up with. So how do you? Okay, well, here's a question that just popped into my head. What about copyright? Like, if you put Mickey Mouse up in the air, are you guys violating copyright?
If we're going to put something like that up in the air, it is something that has come from the client, either a request or a process. So there is always checking. We've done several shows with Marvel over the last 2 years. And oh, who else? We've done some Disney stuff and things like that. So at that point, it is verifying that, we're allowed to use that image or that they have signed off on what it is we're putting in the sky, so that we're not infringing on their copyright or taking away from their intellectual product.
Okay, so right before you go live, right before you launch the drones and start your thing, what does it look like? I mean, how many square feet or meters or however you guys measure it, inches of drones are we talking? Are they all lined up in rows? Do you like throw them in the air? Do do they magically come out of a box? How does it start when you push the button?
So the interesting thing there is that really depends on what products you're working with. I have worked before. One of my first introductions to drone light shows was actually with Intel with their program, and that was back in 2020. So right as COVID was hitting, it was the Intel and Walmart holiday drone light show. So I worked on about 6 of those with them, and their drones actually do come in a box, and you have to like lay the boxes out. They charge in the boxes, they take off out of the box, they do all sorts of crazy stuff.
Oh, so the magic box I was joking, but that's actually a real thing.
Only for that one, which is the craziest
thing. Intel.
They decided, they put it together. Yeah, and they've actually sold that off to another company now, and they do a whole bunch of other things. But for the majority of the market, the most popular drones that are out there, you are laying out a very specific grid. And obviously everything scales. Depending on the client, how much their budget is, how much their situation is, where we're flying from, and all that. We can say, okay, if the only area you can give us is X space by X space, this is how many drones we can fit, and this is what we can make your show look like. But if you can give us a soccer field, and we can put out whatever you want. In fact, the image behind me here, this was from our Christmas show last year, and it was 1,000 drones. Whoa. And we flew them from a football field, and I mean, it literally went end zone to end zone and almost all the way across. There are a couple good videos on our website at Sky Elements, on our YouTube channel, where we use a lot of FPV within our media to actually get the scope, flying through the show, flying over the setup, things like that.
Who gets to do that? Do you get to do that?
Sometimes.
Most probably about 40 volunteers in here that would happily do that. So.
Oh, I know. I'm mostly working with these guys back here. So I have flown FPV for years and years and years. I'm very excited you guys are flying Tiny Hawks. That's one of my favorite aircraft I've ever flown. The minute I saw the little orange hoops on the ground, I used to have a set of those, and sweet. I destroyed them. They were great. So I was very excited to see that. But yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of folks, and we actually have a dedicated content team as part of the company. They do both our ground capture. We're also flying, standard aerial photography aircraft, Inspire 3s and Mavic 3s and things like that. And then we also have guys on our team that fly FPVs. So normally when we do get some time off somewhere, the guys and I are sneaking off to go find somewhere cool to go fly before we have to be on set and actually go do it for work, because
right,
really hard.
So it's probably a lot of pre-work where you program everything, you get everything right. Do you guys do like a dry run with the drones on a new show in a space that's not at the client's location, or do you just kind of like do it all virtually, and then the first time you really see it is at the client's location?
It really depends. Honestly, I mean, it kind of boils down to anybody that's flown drones long enough knows that, these things aren't supposed to fly, but magically they do. And so anytime you put one in the air, you're putting it at risk in some, small factor. So especially when you're putting several hundred or 1,000 or more, our biggest show in the US so far has been 1,500 drones.
Wow.
And anytime you're doing that, all it takes is one loose propeller or one bad ESC to slide sideways and take out 4 or 5 other drones. In certain cases, we will do a pre-run. We've had some where the clients, because to your point, people have seen drone light shows, and we get from clients all the time. Oh yeah, I've seen a ton of them on YouTube, and I watched a whole bunch of Instagram before we even contact you. So we know what it looks like. And then after the first show, their eyes are this big, their jaws are on the ground. Like, it's so much bigger in person. It's so much more involved. That was incredible. incredible. Yeah, there you go. So some of them do want to say, hey, we did a run over the summer, almost like a residency at a location where we ended up doing 30 shows for this client.
Wow.
But they wanted to see it one time in person first to make sure that we could time out the music and that it went exactly the way they saw it in their head before they saw it in real life. But most of the time it is, we put together a render, we put it all together in a computer, run the simulation. If everything works there, we expect that, yes, it will work. We're currently doing about 30 to 40 shows a month.
So more than one a day teams. On average.
Often, many times, our little pilot chat online will start on the East Coast at about 7 p.m. Eastern time, depending on the time of year, and you'll just get messages from pilots working their way across time zones as the sun goes down and the moon comes out. We're putting drones up. In fact, New Year's Eve last year was a perfect example of that. We had 6 shows in 5 time zones for New Year's Eve, starting in Miami and ending in Hawaii.
Wow. What a dream, right? A dream job you got going. And if you do have one that careens out and crashes into 4 or 5 others, you just tell the client that's part of the show, right? It's like an effect.
Absolutely.
Right? Did you see that? That's a shooting star.
We're gonna have to charge you extra for that.
How many drones have you lost in one show?
I don't know if I want to say that. Honestly, without giving too much away, we had it was doing some testing, thankfully. So it was in a controlled environment. I think the craziest thing I've seen is about 136 drones falling out of the sky at once.
Whoa. All right, guys. I think that's challenge accepted, right?
I know, right?
So everybody puts 2 or 3 drones in the air. We can beat it today. Now, man, it's you
need a waiver for that.
It's very you do need a waiver. Yes. Just duck. All right. Anybody in the audience got questions? Go ahead.
Say I had like about 50 custom-built FPV drones running ArduPilot on like a bare bones setup. How much would that cost just for like the ground station and stuff, just on the ground equipment?
It's pretty expensive in that the software and everything to run it, it's not just a straight ArduPilot. It is a custom program software. There are a couple different companies that do it. And most of them require that, like, if you have your custom drones, they want to verify that your aircraft will work with that. So there's a whole testing process that goes through it to get your aircraft certified with their software, because obviously they don't want, run out and say, oh yeah, I can totally make this work. And it might have worked at first, but then there's a glitch and they go spazzing out and they find out it was their software and they're kind of freaked out about it. So as far as the equipment goes and stuff, you are talking probably around 8 to 10 grand once you get into like all the ground station and access points and all sorts of things, because you're dealing with multiple radio frequencies and multiple geofences for your system and your setup and all that. So there's quite a bit that goes into it. Plus, this is still somewhat bespoke. So there are a handful of companies doing it. I don't know if anybody saw the video that just came out recently. DJI has just created their own drone light show program. So we're all kind of holding our breaths, waiting to see how that goes. But to this point, most of the stuff that's out there is available to everyone, but the companies are kind of putting it together as proprietary packages almost. So you're kind of at the mercy of them for pricing on that.
Do you ever think we'll see some sort of open source solution for people to just take a hold of and throw it together themselves?
I would like to. Like I said, I've been building and flying stuff forever, but I think in today's modern climate, I think there's probably somewhat of an issue with that. Only that I've said for a long time, DJI is probably the best and worst thing that's ever happened to this hobby. Makes some amazing equipment that works really well when it works, but there are a lot of people that are flying that I don't know if they should be, but they've made it super simple for everybody to get access to. So the days of folks, and obviously with questions along what you're asking, there are folks that are very into it and very intent on I want to make sure I know how everything works and how everything goes together. I think there would be a concern of just how accessible something that large would be, because it's way different putting 100 or 50 drones in the sky at once versus 1 or 2. So I think there are probably people watching that.
All right. I had a question. Actually, Scott at the camera had a question. He wanted to know if how much live event experience you have. In other words, doing shows not drone, but just like concerts or corporate events. Or do you have any of that kind of? Is that helpful to have?
Sure. I mean, it absolutely can be. And a lot of times when we get to a place and we need people to work with us, because sometimes it's not always financially smart to fly an entire crew out. So we may fly a core crew out and then hire a lot of PAs and things from local areas to be able to help us with, laying out the grid and getting some of the actual setup done. Because all those folks are pretty amazing at that. Give them a direction and it's just done. So it does help because, I mean, not only are we doing just a show, but we've done concerts, we've done events. We just did the Kaleidoscope Festival not too long ago. We did the Blink Light Festival in Cincinnati last year, which is one of my favorite shows. We've done a couple shows with the Black Eyed Peas for their concerts and things like that. So it all kind of blends in, and it's really where the client comes from and what they're looking to have done. So we've done everything from just a straight here's a drone show of some pretty stuff in the sky to a lot of corporate sponsors and corporate retreats and then concerts and live events.
Well, Scott's going to send you his resume. He's done a ton of. I'm underutilizing him today. This guy is one of the most talented event people I know, and a pretty decent drone pilot. Mike, you got a question?
Sweet.
KC, I'm Mike Wright. I've been to every one of your shows in North Richland Hills. And
Yes,
assisted
sir.
you before you had a crew. I assisted you all in filming the first one you did out there. And I highly recommend everybody attend one of your shows because you're all over the country. You really
I
enjoy
appreciate
them.
that. Yes, sir. I did a show in Frisco 2 nights ago. I was in Orlando night before last. I'm in Atlanta tonight. So we're running all over the country, and it's
The one
a
I missed was
tough thing to do.
The one I missed was at the cricket opening there in Lone Star Park.
Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, wonderful time. Everybody needs to attend one.
Any other questions for KC? Yeah, Brad's got a question. He can't. Oh, there you go.
I appreciate that. That was a glowing endorsement.
How you doing, Casey? My name is Brad Alston. Everybody calls
Hey,
me
sir.
B-Rad. But this is a curiosity question, if you can even say. I know the venues are all different, the customers are different, the clients, and the amount of drones that you use. But what is it? What's your level of insurance that you have to carry on these events? Like the highest one, if you can say.
Honestly, that portion normally happens. It's interesting. We're large enough that we have kind of separated out a lot of how that goes. I couldn't tell you a specific number. I will tell you it is in the millions for several of these shows, especially when we're doing large areas and historical locations. We've flown shows in downtown San Antonio, right at the Alamo. We've done stuff at the LA Coliseum. So I mean, obviously, a lot of those companies, and depending on the management company there, they've got their own push in. But like I said, we're large enough that we've got a sales team and activation team that handles a lot of the paperwork and a lot of that. So luckily, I get to hop on a plane, fly out, work with the ground crew, get it up, make the show happen, and then off to the next one.
So in terms of the drone itself, you mentioned the Intel drone. How big are they? How much do they weigh? How long do they fly for? Give us the basic specs.
Gotcha. So it's real interesting. Obviously, everyone knows drone tech jumps leaps and bounds about every 6 months. It's just absolutely insane what comes out. We really haven't had much of a battery breakthrough since about the 50s. When LiPo batteries first started being a thing. So we're still using LiPos. For safety's sake, we normally keep shows to about 12 to 15 minutes. And that's because we can push a battery probably up until about the 18 to 20 minute range on the systems that are out available right now. We've worked on a couple things, and I can't go into exactly what it was, but we did a show in Austin earlier this year. We had a countdown timer up in the sky for an hour.
So the same,
but it was really cool.
same drones are going for an hour, or did they swap out?
There was some swapping happening, but it was a coordination between the hardware and the software, and then how it all worked together.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Yep, the video's up. We did a countdown for 60 minutes, And we didn't tell the news agencies. They all came out. They were asking us what it was. We told them we couldn't tell them what it was. People started walking out of bars and stuff and looking. People were coming from across town. News was interviewing, like, what is this? What do you think? Like, oh, obviously it's for South by Southwest, or it's some movie promotion or whatever. And at the end of it, we put a giant QR code in the sky and we rickrolled the entire city.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you played the final countdown, but you rickrolled. Dang. Yeah. If you don't know what a rickroll is, you're going to get rickrolled, so be careful. So I know we're a little over time. KC, thank you so much again. This is fascinating. Any other questions? Anybody else got a question for KC? I know you said your social media. You want to say it one more time?
Sure. Well, obviously, check out the company. We're Sky Elements Drones. And we're Sky Elements on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. And if you'd like to get a hold of me personally, Eat, Sleep, Drone, Repeat, same thing, Instagram, YouTube, Gmail, all that.
And where you live in Texas, right?
I do. Currently, I live in Corpus Christi, but our company is based out of North Richland Hills, which is why we do a whole lot of shows up there.
Yeah.
We bounce around and all over the place. So if you are looking to see a show live, make sure you check out the skyelementsdrones.com. We have a link that says where to see a drone show. And if we have a public show, we try and post those up as early as possible to make sure that people can get out and see them. I think we're wrapping up the stuff that was public for October, but the November stuff and the December stuff should be going up pretty soon.
Lee's got a question. All right, last question.
How does somebody get on your list to be a volunteer for when you have a show local? Like I'm in San Antonio, Brad was in Virginia. We got people from all over the country. Is there a list that they can sign up for from the drone community to say, hey, if you come here, call me, I'll come out and help? Or
Sure, shoot us an email. There's a contact link on the website as well. And if you're local and know some people, because I like I said, we'd like to reach out and get PAs, but especially if there's folks that know drone stuff and they're available. Sometimes we end up in some pretty small towns where it's hard to get folks around. So having a network of folks that we can reach out to and say, hey, anybody around here, or are you able to make an hour or two drive up the road? We're always happy to work with folks that are excited about it.
Sweet. Well, you're certainly a great ambassador for drones. We appreciate that. This is what we try to be here. Fly safely. Like you said, it's a lot of people that don't, and we want to set a good example. And then, the whole idea of drone shows is exciting. I think fireworks are still cool, but I think drones are going to be the new thing, and maybe there's a combo of the two or something like that. But at the end of the day, you're not going to probably start a fire with a drone. Well, you might. Never mind.
No,
Scratch that.
We actually started out as a fireworks company and ordered a bunch of drones, and it's just ramped up from there. And it's been amazing because we do have shows. If you get on the YouTube channel and look at our 4th of July show that we did, lots and lots of drones coordinated with fireworks. Giant eagle in the sky holding an American flag with flames flying out across the front.
Evel Knievel.
It was
America.
So, yeah.
What could go wrong? All right, KC, you're the man. Thank you. Have a great show tonight. This audience enjoyed getting to meet you, and we will talk to you soon. We'll follow up. I'm going to send you some swag.
Hope to come fly with you guys soon.
All right. Take care, man.
Bye, guys.